there's just no reason to buy this. Making bone broth is easy, and when you do it the way I'm going to do it today, it is significantly cheaper than even just a basic low-end broth like this. It is vastly cheaper than buying the same quality product at the grocery store. So today we're making bone broth. Yay, stick with me, I promise. I'll make it worth your time. Welcome to Grow and Preserve. I'm Carter. I'm so glad you're here today. Let's get started. Unfortunately, the audio on this opening clip here was terrible. I have the canner going on the right. You can see it's venting. I have the All-American canner in the back. It's going to start rattling here in a minute. I didn't even notice. Literally, I have this going on in my kitchen so many times, I just didn't even notice at all. So I have bacon in the canner over there. So these pans that I'm using, although they look like they have, been through the wars, they have just been used to cook the bacon before canning it. So I have all the good bacon grease and bits in there. So I'm going to go ahead and roast these bones in there. I was able to get, I think it was 18 bones, or 18 pounds of bones, could have been 20 pounds, from a place called Tennessee Grass-Fed. And they're just absolutely beautiful bones. They were on sale. They're a combination of knuckle and marrow bones, and they're absolutely beautiful. I think I paid right around $20 for all of this, which is a pretty good deal. It would have been probably $32, $36 had they not been on sale. So I'm going to get all of them lined up on the trays, and then I'm going to chop up some onions in very large chunks, and I'm going to roast those as well. They'll go in the oven at 425 or so for about an hour, and then we'll take them out and get the rest of the process started, and by then the audio will be better.
We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountains under the sun. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. We are living the dream together out here on the road, and our love takes center stage at every single show. But lately you've been distant.
All right, these bones smell amazing and they look beautiful. Roasty tasty, just fabulous. I've already put a bunch of vegetable scraps and onion skins and things from the freezer in here so they can be a base. This is going to cook on low 24 to 48 hours. Usually I go 48. I think that my schedule this week is going to work out, so 48 is good for me. So good. Oh, beautiful. These were only in the oven for a little over an hour, even though they started from frozen. I did turn them over a couple of times, basted them in that bacon grease. Get all of these in here, and we'll get our seasonings in here. A little bit of apple cider vinegar to make sure that we pull out all of the collagen from the bones. And then I'm going to fill it to the brim with water. So if you've never made beef bone broth at home, it is like nothing you have ever bought from the store. It is absolutely delicious. And if you roast the bones, it's even better. The depth of flavor is crazy. All right, it's a lot of bones. did I say earlier, 18 pounds maybe? Let me get this out of the way and we'll start adding the herbs. I don't usually measure, but I am going to attempt to measure for you, give you some idea. Okay, so that was 2 tablespoons of salt. If I had fresh rosemary, I would use that, of course. I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary. I'm going to do maybe 2 teaspoons of black pepper. We will taste this as it cooks down and potentially add more of any of these. Okay, now I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. That is really important if you're going to draw all the goodness out of the bones. So, okay, 3 or 4 tablespoons, let's call that. All right. Now I'm going to take this over to the roasting pan and fill it completely full with water. So I have to do that off camera because I'll never be able to lift it if I do it on camera. So we'll come back and check on this. So when I put the bones in the roaster oven, I did not show it on camera, but I also added a tablespoon of dried thyme and I added a whole head of garlic. So I just smashed that up, chopped it up just a bit, skins and all, everything went in there. And that's it. But I was able to fit about 11 quarts of water in there. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I have about this much room to spare, so I'm hoping it doesn't bubble over. I'm going to keep it at about 325 until I go to bed, so maybe 3 hours or so, and then I'll turn it down to 275 overnight, and then turn it back up tomorrow to 325. All right, we're back in the corner with the roaster oven, and we are going to get this stock jarred up. I have a bunch of quarts ready to go. I have a bunch of pints ready to go, and I'll talk to you a bit about why I'm going to use both. The one we're doing today, actually the first one we're doing today, because you're going to see all of this at the same time, is really the special one. It's the one where you take a pint, reduce it down, add some brandy, add a little butter, make it a nice silky sauce, and that's what you pour on top of your steak. Or you can take a quart and do a really beautiful beef stew. You can, anything where beef is front and center and you want it to taste like it has cooked for 2 days, because it has cooked for 2 days. But the thing with this is that you only have to do it once. So that's what I love about canning broth. You know, I can do it for 2 days, one time, and then this is done, and I can have meals that are just astounding every time, and they taste so deep and so rich, and it's delicious. But then I'm going to get the quantity I need out of these bones by doing my everyday broth, and just recognize that there's a difference. So here's what we're going to do first. Let me get rid of some of the steam here first. All right, so this broth has been going for 48 hours, maybe 45 hours actually, and it is just absolutely beautiful. It's deep and dark and rich. So the first thing I'm going to do is take out the bones. Whoops, see, I told you this would be messy. And we're just going to set these aside. I'm going to let them drain into a bowl and set them aside, because as I told you, we're going to use them again. I'm going to, after they drain off, remove all the vegetables because they'll start to get bitter. And our second batch, we're just going to go in with the bones. I actually found one other bone in my freezer, so we're going to throw that in as well. I'm going to finish getting these out, and then we'll come back and get to the next step. All right, I have all the bones out. I've set them aside for round 2. Now we're going to do our first straining. So this is just the strainer I used when I pulled the bones out, so it's dirty, but it has fairly wide holes, captured some juice from the bones as they came out. So now I'm just gonna put this into here. We'll do it in batches, and then we're gonna do the final straining to get the really pretty broth that we're gonna can. Also get rid of some of the fat, not all the fat, mind you, but some of the fat. See how pretty, how rich, dark that is? That's what we're looking for on this first round. Second batch will not be that dark. It will still gel, and it will still be flavorful. I'm going to go ahead and skim some of this fat off. I'm just going to set this aside. Okay, I'm starting to get down to just broth now. So, a good bit of fat that I'm taking out. Okay. Okay, look at that beautiful deep rich broth. Now we're going to strain it again. All right, I have some cheesecloth and a finer mesh sieve here. Get this out of the way so that you can see what we're doing. I want this to be a beautiful, not cloudy. I don't want stuff floating around in it. This is the showstopper piece right here. So I'm going to use cheesecloth, and it's going to be absolutely worth it. It will make a mess. It'll be worth that too. You don't technically have to do this part, but if you're going to go to all this trouble and have some really fine bones and take this time to do it, it really is worth this extra step. Be absolutely beautiful in the jar. And you can see here I do still have some fat. I'm going to do plenty of pints of this, because with just the two of us, a pint is often the right amount. And if I'm going to do some kind of showstopper glaze, a pint is also just the right amount. I'll reduce it down, add a little butter, in our case the butter flavored coconut oil. But it'll be fantastic. All right, let's get this into some jars, and I'll show you how that part goes, and then I'll keep going. I'm gonna get my funnel. Okay, I feel a little jammed in the corner here, but unfortunately this is where I have to be. So we're gonna do 1 inch headspace, and then I'm going to pressure can the broth. The pints will be 20 minutes and the quarts will be 25 minutes. It's so quick and easy after this process, and frankly, even though the whole process will take days, it's very little work time. I mean, you've seen what I've done here. I'm almost ready to go with this first batch. Then I'm just going to put the bones back in. I'm going to put the water back in, and I'm going to turn it back on, and I'll do this again in 2 more days. All right, 1 inch headspace. It's gonna have some fat. I'm okay with that. A little bit of a fat cap is fine. I may skim some of that off. That first jar usually gets the bulk of it. You can see the fat cap forming up there. That's good for me. I'm going to dish some of this fat. That's too much for me. That's the first run, so I'm going to get rid of some of that. But I'm okay with this amount. Okay, does that make sense to you? You know, you may not like any. I kind of like the fat. I think it adds a rich, deep flavor. Okay, in this first run, I now have, looks like 7 pints and 5 quarts. And I'm going to do a very thorough job of cleaning these rims because of all the fat in the broth. So I'm just taking some white vinegar. We'll just clean them up really well. I'll probably go through a couple of paper towels with this one. It is particularly important when you have this much fat going on. You can see my fat cap is not, jars are very hot. It's not substantial, but it's a nice little cap to add some flavor when I got to use it. I did not end up adding any more salt. It is, for my taste, slightly undersalted, which is just fine because I'm going to be turning it into a finished product when I go to use it. But it has so much flavor. All the herbs and the beef and the onions and the garlic, you can taste all of it in there. So I'm going to put the pints in the All-American canner on the stove. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, but even if you can't see stuff on the rim, you're going to see it on your paper towel when you do this. And then I'm going to put the quarts in my Presto electric canner. It actually holds 5 quarts, so that's absolutely perfect. I have both canners heating up. These jars are quite tasty. Then what I'm going to do, once I get these in the canner, is fill my roaster back up. I have all the bones to put in there. I've been putting in some water. So I've got that started. And then I'm going to let this go in the roaster for probably a couple days. Today is Monday, yeah, so Wednesday I'll be able to get it done. So these pints, as I said, are going to go 20 minutes in the pressure canner, and the quarts are going to go 25 minutes. Ring doesn't sit on there quite perfectly the first time. Make sure you take the time to get it right. We're doing it fingertip tight, so just until it catches, and then a little bit farther. Sorry, I'm filming over in this corner. It is harder for you to see, I understand that, but I'm so sorry. All right, so there are my pints, 7 of them, and they're going in the canner just like that. Quarts are going in the other canner. And I'll be back to show you the results, and we'll also come back and we'll take a look at round 2. Here I'm going to do the exact same thing with round 2 that I did with round 1. take the bones out, strain the liquid, put the liquid through the cheesecloth into the jars, and can them up. This is a very, I don't know, it's almost relaxing activity. There's no real additional thought needed. You just kind of do it, and it fits fine into my day. It doesn't feel like an imposition. It's maybe 30 minutes, and I have this beautiful product on the other end. So once we finish with round 2, I'm going to put the bones back in, load it back up with water, a little apple cider vinegar, and we're going to run a round 3. And then we're even going to do a round 4. So round 4 is a little bonus one. You'll see as we get there. But in just a minute here, I'll go through with you all the different products that I have. I'll show you the different colors and talk to you about how I use them differently. And then we'll see how much we get.
We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountains under the sun. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more. We are living the dream together out here on the road, and our love takes center stage at every single show. But lately you've been distant, and I don't know what for. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more. We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountains under the sun. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed. You can't see my face in the crowd no more.
So 4 batches of bone broth doesn't all happen in one day. As you know, in fact, 1 batch of bone broth doesn't generally happen in one day. I like to give mine a couple of days to make sure I've extracted all the minerals I possibly can. But that's not 2 days of my time. That's 2 days of the roaster oven's time. So all I do when it's time to can it up is take out the bones and strain the rest. And I do, very deep straining through cheesecloth on the people versions, and then I let Izzy have all the little bits and bobs that I don't want floating around in a normal dish. All right, let's talk about our results. I hope that you can pick up on the slight differences in color. This is our run number 1. It's the deepest, darkest, richest. Bone broth number 2 looks like fantastic quality, very deep and rich, not quite as dark as this one. Bone broth number 3, this is what you're going to get in a grocery store package that is not loaded with caramel coloring. And then this is our round number 4. This is Izzy's special blend, so we'll get to that. So let's talk about bone broth number 1. How much did I get on that first run? I took some notes. I got 5 quarts and 7 pints. So this I'm going to use for things that are very meat focused, where I want the beef to be the primary flavor. So like a beef stroganoff, a beef burgundy, a deep rich gravy. Maybe I'm going to drizzle that on a steak or steak Diane. Anything where I want really deep, rich beef flavor. That's what I'm going to use round number 1 of. All right, let's talk about the second run. This one will also gel in the refrigerator. It is full of vitamins and minerals and deep, rich flavor. It is absolutely delicious. It is not as rich as this one. Okay, so this is the one I would use for soups and stews. If I were going to drink a cup of broth, like for health benefits, this is the one I would choose. I got 5 quarts and 5 pints from this one. All right, let's talk about batch number 3. This one will not gel in the refrigerator. It does still have plenty of vitamins and minerals in it, but it does not gel. So this is the one I would use for things that have other flavors that you want to shine through. Say perhaps in a chili, you add some beef stock in a chili, but you really want the chili flavor to stand out, or you're doing like a beef vegetable soup and you really want the vegetables to have equal balance with the beef. That's the kind of thing I would use this for. And then this one, this is for my little Izzy. She likes the dehydrated food, and usually I'll use just filtered water, or if you've been with me long enough, you know that I don't put a lot of salt when I can some raw meat, because I like to use the juices on top of her food and to help it rehydrate. Now she has her own, and it's all canned up and ready to go. This one I did not add any onions or garlic to. I didn't add salt, I didn't add pepper. I put a little bit of rosemary in there because it has some good properties for her, some antimicrobial and some immune system properties and some digestive stuff. So I did put that in there, and she loves the flavor. So this one will not gel, but it has lots of good stuff in it. And I got, let me see. Okay, bone broth number 3. I have 6 quarts and 4 pints out of that one. And then the doggy broth at 36 half pints of this. And each one is maybe 2 meals for Izzy. She's not a huge dog, but 2 meals poured on top of her freeze-dried food. So if you don't have beef bones, you have bison bones, you have venison bones, whatever, those will work absolutely fine with this. This is a bit too much processing for chicken bones. I will sometimes do those twice. Sometimes I only do 1 run out of them. It just depends how much they start to disintegrate. So definitely on the beef. So don't ever just do 1 run with your beef bones again. At least do 2 or 3, maybe even 4. You'll be so glad to have all these different products on the shelf. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.